Good evening. I kindly invite each one of you to be part of this global oneness gathering. We join in the prayer with the start of Om 5 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Arvindaya. Om Namo Nama Mirambikaye. O Lord, with full faith, love and surrender, we are ready for Thy victory. Let Lord's divine peace be with us. Prayers and meditations. April 8th. In front of this calm sunrise, which turned all within me into silence and peace, at the moment when I grew conscious of Thee, and Thou alone wast living in me. O Lord, it seemed to me that I adopted all the inhabitants of this ship and enveloped them in an equal love, and that so in each one of them something of Thy consciousness would awake. Not often had I felt so strongly Thy divine power and Thy invincible light, and once again total was my confidence and unmixed my joyful surrender. O Thou who relievest all suffering and dispersest all ignorance, O Thou, the Supreme Healer, be constantly present on this boat in the heart of those whom it shelters, that once again Thy glory may be manifested. March 9th. Those who live for Thee and in Thee may change their physical surroundings, their habits, climate, milieu, but everywhere they find the same atmosphere. They carry that atmosphere in themselves, in their thought, constantly fixed on Thee. Everywhere they feel at home, for everywhere they are in Thy house. No longer do they marvel at the novelty, unexpectedness, picturesqueness of things and countries. For them, it is Thy presence that is manifest in all, and Thy unchangeable splendor, which never leaves them, is apparent. in the least grain of sand. The whole earth chants thy praises. In spite of the obscurity, misery, ignorance, through it all, it is still the glory of thy love, which we perceive and with which we can commune ceaselessly everywhere. O Lord, my sweet Master, all this I constantly experience on this boat, which seems to me a marvelous abode of peace, a temple sailing in thy honor over the waves of the subconscious passivity which we have to conquer and awaken to the consciousness of thy divine presence. Blessed was the day when I came to know thee, O ineffable eternity. Chapter 17. The Divine Soul, from Life Divine of Sri Aurobindo. The Divine Soul will be aware of all variation of being, consciousness, will, and delight as the outflowing, the extension, the diffusion of that self-concentrated unity developing itself, not into difference and division, but into another, an extended form of infinite oneness. It will itself always be concentrated in oneness in the essence of its being. It will itself always be concentrated in oneness in the essence of its being, always manifested in variation in the extension of its being. All that takes form in itself will be the manifested potentialities of the One, the Word, or name, vibrating out of the nameless silence. The form realizing the formless essence, the active will or power proceeding out of the tranquil force, the ray of self-cognition gleaming out from the sun of timeless self-awareness, the wave of becoming rising up into shape of self-conscious existence out of eternally self-conscious being, the joy and love welling forever out of eternal still delight. Collected works of the Mother, equality of the body, equality of the soul, the Mother. Equality of the external being means good health, a solid body, controlled nerves when you are not shaken by the least shock, when you are calm, quiet, poised, and balanced. In that condition, you can receive into you a great force in yourself from above or from the environing energy around you, and yet not get upset. If one of you at any time had received some such force, he must have known by experience that without a perfectly sound physical health, one could not contain or hold it. You cannot remain still. You are restless. You move about, talk, cry, weep, jump, or dance just to throw out the energy you are unable to hold. You scatter about what it is not possible for you to gather and assimilate. In order to be able to gather and assimilate the force, the body and the nerves must be quiet and strong. Equality of the soul is different. It is psychological, not physical. It is the power to bear the impact of things, good or bad, without being grieved or elated, discouraged or enthused, without any upsetting or disturbance. Whatever happens, you remain serene and at peace. But both the equalities are necessary. There are many equalities, in fact, apart from the equality of the vital and the equality of the body, there is also equality of the mind proper. That is to say, all ideas from all quarters may come into your head, even the most contradictory. Yet you remain quiet, untroubled, and even unconcerned. You are a witness. You see them, sort them, arrange them, put each idea in its proper place, appreciate the value of each, determine the relation of each to the other and to the whole, but you are not swayed by any particular one. to Sri Aurobindo. To thee who has been the material envelope of our Master, to thee our infinite gratitude. Before thee who hast done so much for us, who has worked, struggled, suffered, hoped, endured so much, before thee who hast willed all, attempted all, prepared, achieved all for us, before thee we bow down and implore that we may never forget, even for a moment, all we owe to thee. Radha's Prayer. O thou whom at first sight I knew for the Lord of my being and my God, receive my offering. Thine are all my thoughts, all my emotions, all the sentiments of my heart, all my sensations, all the moments of my life, each cell of my body, each drop of my blood. I am absolutely and altogether thine, thine without reserve. What thou wilt of me, that I shall be, whether thou choosest for me life or death, happiness or sorrow, pleasure or suffering. All that comes to me from thee will be welcome. Each one of thy gifts will be always for me a gift divine, bringing with it the supreme felicity. Savitri, Canto 3, Yoga of the King, Yoga of the Soul's Release, page 22. A world's desire compelled her mortal birth. One in the front of the immemorial quest, protagonist of the mysterious play, in which the unknown pursues himself through forms and limits his eternity by the hours, and the blind void struggles to live and see, a thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power. His was a spirit that stooped from larger spheres into our province of ephemeral sight, a colonist from immortality. A pointing beam on earth's uncertain roads, his birth held up a symbol and a sign. His human self, like a translucent cloak, covered the all-wise who leads the unseen world. Affiliated to cosmic space and time, and paying here God's debt to earth and man. A greater sonship was his divine right. Although consenting to mortal ignorance. His knowledge shared the light ineffable. A strength of the original permanence, entangled in the moment and its flow, he kept the vision of the vasts behind. A power was in him from the unknowable, an archivist of the symbols of the beyond, a treasurer of superhuman dreams. He bore the stamp of mighty memories and shed their grandiose ray on human life. His days were long, growth to the supreme. Prayers and mantras. Lord, Supreme Truth, we aspire to know Thee and to serve Thee. Help us to become children worthy of Thee, and for this make us conscious of Thy constant gifts, so that gratitude may fill our hearts and govern our lives. Lord, Thy love is so great, so noble, and so pure that it is beyond our comprehension. It is immeasurable and infinite. On bended knees, we must receive it. On bended knees, we must receive it. And yet thou hast made it so sweet that even the weakest among us, even a child, can approach thee. Sri Aurobindo's Essays on the Gita. The outward action of the avatar is described in the Gita as the restoration of the Dharma. When from age to age the Dharma fades, languishes, loses force, and its opposite arises, strong and oppressive, then the avatar comes and raises it again to power. And as then things in idea are always represented by things in action and by human beings who obey their impulsion, his mission is, in its most human and outward terms, to relieve the seekers of the Dharma who are oppressed by the reign of reactionary darkness, and to destroy the wrongdoers who seek to maintain the denial of the Dharma. But the language used can easily be given a poor and insufficient connotation which would deprive avatarhood of all its spiritual depth of meaning. Dharma is a word which has an ethical and practical, a natural and philosophical, and a religious and spiritual significance, and it may be used in any of these senses exclusive of the others. In a purely ethical, a purely philosophical, or a purely religious sense. Ethically, it means the law of righteousness, the moral rule of conduct, or in a still more outward and practical significance, social and political justice, or even simply the observation of the social law. If used in this sense, we shall have to understand that when unrighteousness, injustice, and oppression prevail, the Avatar descends to deliver the good and destroy the wicked, to break down injustice and oppression and restore the ethical balance of mankind. Prayer to the Spirit of Aurobindo. We gather for a good cause. Let us all unite in our heart as in form of Divine Mother's presence, who unite us in her love. Let us offer our gratitude for granting that we may never forget to own towards Thee a deep and intense gratitude. Grant that we may never squander any of the marvelous things that are Thy gifts to us at every instant. Grant that everything in us may collaborate in Thy work and all be ready for Thy realization. Glory to Thee, O Lord, Supreme Master of all realization. Give us a faith active and ardent, absolute and unshakable in Thy victory. Let us offer this prayer. Let each one of us carry and sustain this grace and love of collectivity until we gather again for this beautiful hour. Wish you all a happy birthday, those who celebrate of this week. Thanks for being with me. Greetings from Aurobindo. Thank you. Good night.